Imagine this wall mural come to life. The wind sweeping across, creamy sand, all manners of wildlife, being them wild selves around you. Imagine this mural come to life, and then you'll have a sense of what Arraial do Cabo in Brazil is like. They call this the Caribbean of Brazil. They also call this the dive capital of Brazil. I had an interesting experience diving here, which was the name of another close by sister town, Cabo. The water here, as opposed to what people might think it should be in South America, was mucho frio, very cold. I obtained my PADI open water license in the cold waters of Vancouver, so I'm used to this shit. I was born in a cold Canadian city that, at least when I was young, regularly set record-breaking minus 40 degrees Celsius winter temperatures. I'm in the opposite, which is countries that regularly experience plus 40 degrees Celsius temperatures. I'm in one of the rare times where the temperatures are actually comfortable for someone like me. It's overcast today. Hey, birds. It's overcast, which means perfect for me. Oh, of course, as soon as I mention overcast, the sun comes out to play. The reason why in Arraial del Cabo and Cabo Frio the water is colder here is because there's a concept called resurgence, where cold waters from the Antarctic and south upsurge in, creating a confluence and habitats for different type of pelagic life. I am filming across the street at the coolest religion in the world. Why are they so cool? Well, yesterday they had some sort of special day. I guess you could call it a saint's day of some sort. And in order to celebrate, they handed out bags of candy. Now, here's the thing. Everyone should know, whether you're talking about religion or romance, food and other such goodies are the way to people's hearts. So, actually, if I understand correctly, a lot of religions found this out already, because what they would do is, in the old world, moving into the new world, give food out to people who needed it in exchange for their fidelity to religion. Now, I'm getting close because the kinds of food they gave were good. I've become obsessed with dulce peanut snack. I've had mostly this form of peanut, but they really do it in several different flavors, including guayaba, which is a local fruit, and cocoa. Should I actually show the bars? Well, I'll show them some other time because I'm far from eating them yet. I should update that in Rio de Janeiro, I had what's my biggest dumpster diving haul of food to date. As I was walking back to my hostel late afternoon after an adventurous day, which included in no particular order, death walk through a tunnel of fast moving, rapido, oncoming traffic, and other such things I will hold on to until the time is right. I came across a bag that was solely filled with food waste from the day. Now, for my guess, because mixed into the bag were some food tags, the local bakery slash restaurant slash cafe basically took out their entire display sample case, threw it out, along with whatever was left over for the day. All of it was good food. None of it had been bitten into. Truth be told, though, even if it had been, I have been dumpster diving those kinds of foods too. I've vlogged about why and how. This one is more to summarize the biggest, largest haul that I've ever had. So I will show what's left of the haul after several days of me pecking at things. Now, to be fair and to warn, that's what's left. So it's a bag full of a comida that is half of a freezer, standard size freezer. But I started with that half being probably double the size. I walked that food in the sweltering heat of South America after having frozen it overnight, and I am keeping it frozen to keep it good enough to eat. The stuff looks like shit. It's mushed together, but you look past appearances. The food is still good, still fresh because I froze it, and here's where I become an activist. Even in what they call up-and-coming countries, developing, whatever label you want to use, there's so much food wastage. I'm just confused. It could be because they lack the infrastructure to keep food, but as I just showed, there's a fridge here. Any type of establishment that can cook food in a storefront has the capacity to store food too. This is my opinion. The exception would be people who run street stalls, aka street food. That's a bit of a different situation, but actually street food rarely goes to waste because normally the proprietors of the street food just bring it home for themselves, at least of that I've served. But I mean, here I'm just so confused because I also watch the habits of people around me who are all mostly South American, because I am backpacking South America. People waste a lot of food here. Perfectly good, edible food. Now, maybe you might argue, are crumbs worth the time to pick at? I mean, there's a lot of crumbs that probably equals a piece of bread. So, I have no idea what the solution is to this. I'm just contributing in my way, because my interest align. The food is free. It's edible. That saves me money and time to go find places to eat, blah, blah, blah. Now, I guess one of the downfalls of this habit is if I come across a lot of food, I am acting like a squirrel with nuts, burying things, freezing things, carrying things, but so far it's worked out, and that's what it's gonna be. Am I gonna continue the vlog past 10 minutes? I guess I do have more to talk about. The more to talk about would be, I am always at a crossroads when it comes to my scuba education. This is now circling back to the headline, which is, we're in the dive capital of Brazil. The dive capital is Arraial do Cabo, and truth be told, these are some of the cheapest dives I've ever done in my dive career, if you will. This is a good place to base yourself if you'd like to further your education I am now considering what I consider to be the most important dive course anyways. This is called Rescue Diver. Rescue Diver, along with Emergency First Response, forms what I consider to be the cornerstone of any adventure sport: safety. Of course, when you learn open water and even advanced, you are learning safety concepts all along. To be fair to all of the certifying organization, that's been the case. But I think that taking the Rescue Diver course ASAP is fundamental from a confidence and safety standpoint. Safety breeds confidence and breeds fun. That's the reality of the situation. Perhaps sometimes divers are too dumb, as in they have no clue what kind of risk they're exposing themselves to because they are so early on in their dive education. I consider myself to be a newbie too. I am getting close to 20? No, I'm 20 plus dives already. And that alone qualifies me for probably more than I should be qualified for. But truth be told, the reason that I can have fun is because I'm confident in my skills. I'm confident in my skills because I took the time to actually teach myself beyond what my certifying organization, PADI, has taught me. I still maintain that every single organization I've come across is too lax when it comes to certifying divers of all levels. They're just too lax. I've dived with people, some of them who have been instructor level or higher, who have completely fucked shit up. I might have vlogged about this, but I will vlog about it again because it's relevant. When I was diving in the Galapagos, we had 2 pairs of buddies, me and the guide, a certified SSI instructor, and a couple. The couple consisted of an advanced open water diver and a new open water diver. Partway through the dive, I noticed that we were down to 3 divers. Technically speaking, I was okay because I was still with my dive buddy, the dive guide. But the couple, the woman who was actually the advanced diver, was just floating by herself. So with our underwater sign language, I asked her, "Where is your dive buddy?" Her answer was, "I have no clue." And the "I have no clue" answer is a problematic answer because according to the organizations, if you are diving and you have done your 360, you're still missing people, you have to actually surface to ascend and ascend properly. Ascend properly according to all of the guidelines that you would follow. So the ascent rate, if you are at the maximum depth of 60 feet, would be you ascend that entire distance within 60 seconds. Another rule of thumb is you are slower than your bubbles that you make. So that's the rule. This is basic. We learned this in open water. Now, technically speaking, the guide is responsible for this entire group of people. We have a dive buddy system where we have local responsibility with each other. But as the dive guide, my opinion, and I think the organization's rule, is that we all should have ascended together because we had lost a dive buddy. At the surface, spotting people is much easier. At the bottom is much harder. So that's what I expected to happen. But what actually happened was confusing and something I'm still working through, because he acknowledged that someone was lost. He took something and banged against his tank, which is what you're supposed to do. Make sounds so that perhaps the lost diver can hear and locate you. Okay, so we acknowledge that indeed a diver's lost, but we continued diving too as if nothing happened. Okay, this splits your brain in a very odd, awkward way. Someone is missing, could potentially be dead, but I'm somehow supposed to continue diving and enjoy it. Now, why I mentioned that someone could be dead. The location that we were diving at, Kicker Rock, goes down very deep. There are some dive sites where if someone got lost, you may be less concerned about immediate death. But let's take a look at the context and the circumstance. This person who got lost is a newbie open water diver, just certified. We are diving in heavy current, which in itself is a specialty called drift diving. I am what I consider to be a strong diver. I had enough control over my buoyancy to handle the drift, but even the other woman, who's also an advanced diver, was having trouble. So, given that all these factors, I think it's enough. You call the dive and you ascend. Our guide never did that. When we actually ascended, we ascended because we were done with our fun dives. We treated it as if now we were just 3 people. At the surface, we found the lost man had lost control of his buoyancy and rocketed to the top. That in itself is also a problem, because if that happened, even if you're at the surface now, you are susceptible to many conditions, including something called decompression sickness. I'll have to double check all this, and this is good for me because I'm entering rescue diver. They should have slapped the oxygen mask on him right away. He had a rapid ascent. That's what they should have done. He was just sitting there. If anything, he seemed to feel bad about his performance in the dive. That's another thing to consider. If you're a newbie and you're trusting a dive guide, should you feel bad about being at the level that you're at? That's the whole point of progressing in education. I expect that the dive guide is the professional. You pay a lot, even in developing countries, to dive, and part of that is you're paying for safety. Otherwise, why the fuck am I paying? If I have better sense than the guide, and the guide is actively counteracting education that he had just imparted on his students, probably, what are we all doing here? So, okay, this is less about Arraial del Cabo and a little bit more about diving in general. But suffice, I have a lot of things that I'm still working through in order to understand how I feel about this situation. And in talking through it, I think I've realized that I'm obviously still bothered by it. So if I'm bothered, I should take the time to consider why I'm bothered and do that. The thing though is I already dove in the intermediate because I'm here and there's a lot of complicated factors, so I'm gonna continue to think about this.